guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and today I'll be going over the NBA draft pick grades. I'm going to discuss all 58 picks in this year's draft and, all the teams that did really well, the teams that, kind of faltered or should have done something different. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing that huge giveaway at 500 subscribers, so get us there. But let's get into the video here. And of course, at number one, we had Paolo Ranchero from Duke going to the Orlando Magic. Obviously, and the biggest story I think was that no one thought that this was going to happen until as soon as that clock started. And for this year, the next few years, was this going to be the right choice? Is going to be the big question there. But obviously, he's the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year right now, just with that situation in Orlando. They needed a guard. He's going to take over that franchise and hopefully be the guy in Orlando. Two, we got Chet Holmgren, and this really showed that the Thunder were not moving off of Chet and really showing the Magic didn't matter who you took. We got the best player in the draft. The 7-foot rim protector who can absolutely jump out of the gym is, super rare, especially in today's game. And the biggest question for him, though, is he reliable to make threes? He can shoot, but how consistently? I think the Thunder are going to develop that. But this is an A+ for them because, this is a once-in-a-generation talent. Same for Jabari Smith, A+ as well for the Rockets. I think they were kind of expecting to get Paolo, but they got, Jabari here, and that could be a big win in their eyes. It was the easiest pick, the third best player that was left. Of course, it goes to Houston. He'll be a good piece with Jalen Green. He's super young still, and he'll need to develop, get his shot right, play some better defense. But he's nice with the ball, slashing, especially as we saw that huge dunk in the NCAA tournament. But it's going to be a great fit here in Houston. At 4, we have Keegan Murray out of Iowa going to the Kings, and I think the Kings are getting a lot of slack for this one. Even though they got their guy, he's the most NBA ready player in the draft. They needed a forward. They got their forward. But the biggest question is, what kind of offers were they getting for that 4th pick? Because we know the Knicks were interested. They really needed that guard. I think a lot of people wanted them to trade up and get Ivey, but they didn't. The Kings settled, took a pick. So I got to give them a B here because I think they could have maybe traded down a little bit and still possibly got Murray. I don't know. We'll just have to see. And speaking of Jaden Ivey at 5, he goes to my Pistons. I couldn't have been more happier last night. I was ecstatic when we announced his name. Stole him at 5. Him and Cade are going to be an elite pairing for hopefully years to come, maybe a whole generation. I don't know, but he got his wish in being a Piston. He's got his family ties with I believe his grandpa played for the Lions, his mother played for the Detroit Sparks, and now Ivey's playing for the Pistons. So, it just runs in the family here for the Ivies, and I think he's going to have a really good rookie season paired with Cade. 6, we got Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona. You got to give this one an A as well. This was the Pistons' backup plan if Ivey was off the board, but he's a 6'6" wing, all-star potential. His stock rose the most from college season to now, and I think it's going to be a great fit for the Pacers just because of some other picks that they have here later in the draft that they came through with, and that young core of Halliburton and that haul they got for that Kings trade. 7, we got Shaedon Sharpe. And this is the guy I think with the highest ceiling, but just the biggest question mark. We didn't see him at all at Kentucky, but in practice he was jumping out of the gym, making sweet plays. He's an explosive scorer. But we're just going to have to see how he develops around Dame and now Jeremiah. So I'm giving this one a B+. I think it's a good pick here, good value pick. 8th, we got Dyson Daniels out of the G League Ignite. I didn't really watch too much of his highlights, but from what I have been watching, his jumper is the biggest area of concern. When he's on, though, watch out because he is really good. But another thing I think why he went so high is he's just a great defender, perimeter defender. And when you have a great perimeter defender, especially in the league now with all these great guards that are pulling up from deep, kind of limits that a little bit. And I think that's a great pick for the Pelicans. 9, we have Jeremy Sochan out of Baylor. The forward going to 9. I think a lot of people were thinking he was going to go a little bit lower. But he can, guard multiple positions, be an absolute stud for this first team for years to come. They're really good with forwards, as we've seen in the past. And I think he's got plus potential as a shooter. If they can figure out his stroke, he's going to be absolutely lights out. And, with all the people saying that might be a reach here, I think, if the Spurs get their guy, they get their guy and they turn him into a star. 10th, we have Johnny Davis. And, at the beginning of the college season last year, not too many people were high on him being a lottery pick. Ends up being the 10th pick in the draft. And I think Bradley Beal is going to be happy with this. What is he going to do is going to be the big question for the Wizards. And, adding another elite scorer to this, I think will only help him make that decision a little easier. 11th, we have Osman Dieng out of the New Zealand Breakers. This is going to be a long-term investment pick. They're not expecting him to come in day one, take over the franchise. But these are the kind of guys that Thunder likes. These investments, can see how they go and go from there. 12th, we have Jalen Williams, the first Jalen Williams to the Thunder. A minus for sure. He helped himself more than anybody in the pre-draft process, as his stock just kept rising, and that's because he went to Santa Clara. Not too many people watch that on TV and get to see his game every day. But the film does not lie. He's a really good shooter, very athletic, and just does what it takes to win. And I think that's what the Thunder need. 13, we have Jalen Duren out of Memphis. I love this pick here for the Pistons, getting that traded from the Hornets to the Knicks, who then traded it to the Pistons, and we took Kemba's salary just to dump a little bit. I just love this fit here. He's the center. Unfortunately for Beef Stew, he's going to have to work even harder to stay in the rotation even more now. But, with him being a, beast in the paint, I expect him to get his touches, vow for some rebounds, and definitely this Pistons team, watch out for the come up. I mean, you guys are now just starting to talk about it, all these casuals. But, I've been on the Pistons ever since Cade. 14th, we got OG Abaji out of Kansas. A plus for sure going to the Cavs. Versatile on both ends of the floor. He could be a top 10 player from this draft after it's all said and done. And the thing is, he's still developing. He's unfinished, and he's looking to unlock some potential there in Cleveland. 15th, we have Mark Williams. I think it's a great pick. They needed a center, but I think people are going to question, are they going to regret trading Duren? Only time will tell for that one. But they got a big guy. It's going to be a good fit there in Charlotte for LaMelo. 16th, we got AJ Griffin out of Duke, and he's going to Atlanta. I think he's a really good shooter. Takes the load off Trey a little bit. You can rely on him. But the preseason injury that he had last year, it looks like it's far behind him. Not really too big of a concern. 17th, we have Tari Eason out of LSU. I think this is a very safe pick here at 17. He's a breakout star last year at LSU, which led his stock to get up here. He can guard multiple positions. But I think they could have taken a little bit of a better player here. But, the Rockets obviously like their guy here at 17, so this is what they got. 18th, we have Dallin Terry out of Arizona. I think this is another reach pick as well. I think he could have fell, mid-20s. But he's got confidence and he's versatile on the court, and I think that's what makes up for it. He's going to do what he's going to have to do to win some games, grit it out, and I think that's the guy the Bulls needed. 19th, we have Jake LaRiva out of Wake Forest. Why they traded up is why they got the B grade to me. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. Almost a 40% three-point shooter. Could the Grizzlies have waited 10 more picks to 29? I think they personally could have. But, obviously the Grizzlies see something here we don't, and that's why they traded up to get him. 20th, we have Malachi Branham out of Ohio State. An A pick for sure. If the Spurs get their score, he's a wing with great size, very offensive-minded player, meaning he'll get his, team involved. He'll do whatever it takes to win. And he could be a steal of a draft here at 20 after he put it up an excellent campaign last year at Ohio State. 21st, we have Christian Braun, which, might look like Braun, but it's Brown. He's a wing with size to guard at his position. Great shooter, and explosive too. We saw that at Kansas last year. And I think that he went to a great situation in the Nuggets, looking for a guy, that can kind of take over a game, not rely on Jokic so much. I mean, they still have Murray and Porter Jr. as well, and we didn't see them at all last year. And the one negative though is I think there were some higher prospects that they could have went with, but they went with this guy. 22, we have Walker Kessler, and I think this is a very underrated pick going to the Timberwolves. That's why I'm giving it an A plus. Him and Cat are going to be a great duo down there in the paint. It's going to be tough to get past those two guys. These guys almost averaging 5 blocks a game in college. Incredible rim protector. And if he develops an outside shot consistently, I mean, how are you going to stop this guy? 23rd, we have David Roddy, and he looked pretty solid last year. I'm not going to lie, winning Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. the 76ers traded this pick away for, to the Grizzlies, for DeAnthony Melton. I think it's a good swap there. For the most part, I think David Roddy is going to have a, good career here. The Grizzlies always somehow, some way can get the most out of everybody. And that's what we've seen, out of their recent picks in last years. 24th, we have Marjan Beauchamp, and he plays extremely hard with his athleticism and his size. This can make him a positive factor. I don't know why the picture's down there, by the way. But the only thing he needs to figure out is his jump shot. Other than that, I think it's a good pick here for the Bucks. 25th, we have Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame, giving him a B+. He wasn't super consistent at Notre Dame, but he showed flashes of what he can have at Notre Dame. And if he can figure that out, play that on a more consistent basis, he could be a really good steal, late round value pick. 26th, we have Wendell Moore Jr. I love this pick here for the Timberwolves. Again, another, big man bring in here, center forward. He got better as the year went on last year at Duke. He can guard multiple positions, playing a different role every night, no matter what it takes to win. This is your guy. 27th, you have Nikola Jovic, not Jokic, Jovic. And, the Heat, I like this here. They got a ton of skill to go along with his size. If he can figure out his shot, put on a little more weight, this guy's going to be pretty solid. I've seen some highlights of him overseas. He can play. And I think this is a project here. It's not come in and, show us what you got here. It's going to be a year or two before you really get to unlock his potential. 28th, we have Patrick Baldwin Jr. And, of course, one of the best shooters, lengthy, great size. Of course goes to the Warriors. And I think the only thing here is if he was healthy last year, the whole year, I think this guy's a lottery pick. He had everything that, scouts look for. His stroke is beautiful. He's got a great stroke. And if you just watch probably 3-4 minutes highlights, you're going to be like, man, this guy fell to 28. 29th, you have Ty Washington Jr. out of Kentucky. A+ for sure for the Rockets. I'm surprised he fell this low. I thought he was top 20 for sure. But, he fell. Rockets scooped him up. And I think this is going to be a great addition there in Houston. Adding Jabari, now Ty along with Jalen Green. They have a good young core as well. To round out the first round, we have Peyton Watson out of UCLA going to the Nuggets. And this is a guy that, you don't really hear much of because of, Johnny Juzang, all that whole team last year in UCLA, their magical run. And then he was kind of sixth man, last year. But if you can watch the film and determine this guy's highlights, this guy, you could be getting a top 10, 15 player if they can work it out of him. Starting the second round, we have Andrew Nembhard out of Gonzaga going to the Pacers at 31. He's a reliable shooter, good depth piece for sure for the Pacers. But if they can unlock his explosiveness, watch out because this man can take over games. 32nd, we have Caleb Houstan out of Michigan. Going to the Magic, the Orlando Wolverines, as Hunter Dickinson tweeted last night. He has great positional size and definitely a good shooting range, but he just needs to work on his consistency. That's the biggest, problem I saw last year at Michigan, watching almost every game. He could drop 20 a night and then come out and drop 2. And if he can figure out consistency, then he will be a good piece off the bench for the Magic. 33rd, we have Christian Coloco at Arizona. I think it was a little bit of a reach here for the Raptors. They got trendy on the center picks, and they wanted to scoop one up before it was too late. He did win Pac-12 Player of the Year last year, and obviously shows that he's a great defensive center. And if he can figure out his offensive growth in a few years, he could be a really dominant center. 34th, we have the other Jalen Williams going to the Thunder out of Arkansas. He led college hoops last year in charges, which is a very underrated stat, meaning he's willing to put his body on the line for his team. He brings a well-rounded two-way game and a high basketball IQ. I just really like this pick. It's a great value here at 34. And pairing him with Holmgren, watch out. That's going to be a scary, scary combo, especially with Shai. This Thunder team, might turn some heads next year. It might squeak into the playoffs or, be a really good team. 35, we have Max Christie out of Michigan State. Great player. I just think wrong team right now. The landing spot's a little questionable. He's young, but the potential and size, I just don't think he's a rotational guy right away. He's going to start off the bench, in my opinion. He needs to work on his shot, get there, but he is a good player. I just think it's a tough situation he's going into right now. 36th, we have Gabriel Procida out of Fortitude Bologna, and he's a guard forward. He's a great positional size and projects as a quality shooter. Watched a little highlights of him. He can dribble. He's kind of a raw prospect, but he's going to be a stash for sure. And I really kind of wish the Pistons didn't take him because I wish they would have taken Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy, very, very good prospect. Went to a great team here to the Mavs. And I think, if they do get rid of Brunson, let him walk or trade, sign and trade, Hardy will fill that role perfectly. He struggled efficiency standpoint last year, but he did lead the team in scoring. Pair him with Luka, it's a good 1-2 punch. Kennedy Chandler was another guard that got picks late, going to 38 to the Grizzlies. He's the shortest guard in the draft, a little shy of 6 foot. It's a great landing spot going to Memphis, getting to be under Ja, Tyus Jones, that whole young core as well. And he's going to be, kind of the mini Ja, the quick guy. 39, you have Khalife Diop out of Gran Korea. The center going to the Cavs, another good pick, but I'm going to C minus here because, I just think they could have went somewhere else with this pick. Don't get me wrong, he's a decent player, going to be a good backup center behind Mobley, but I think they could have added, another forward here, possibly even a guard just to, shake up the roster a little bit. 40, we have Bryce McGowns out of Nebraska. He's projected right around here, around this late, early second round, mid second round here. He goes to the Timberwolves, and I think the best thing you're going to remember him for is his off ball, which increases NBA value. He's always moving, always doing whatever it takes, to get his team some looks or get the right shot. 41st, we have EJ Liddell out of Ohio State. I thought for sure he was going to be a late first round pick, but he ends up signing mid second round. I think he's a little undersized for a power forward, but he plays above his height, and he is a 3-point threat, so it's going to be tough to guard him. 42nd, we have Trevor Keels out of Duke. They added a first round talent, I think the Knicks did here. He brings great defensive intensity, great on defense. A guy you want to rally around on defense, get the team moving. And he can be a good change of pace guard for sure when he slashes and scores. 43rd, we have Diabate Musa out of Michigan. Like his decision to leave, I think he could have stayed another year, increased his draft stock, but it's his life, his choice. I'm not going to complain for him. He still gets drafted here to the Clippers, going into a decent situation there, but he just really needs to work on his offensive game because other than his hook shot, he's really got nothing super consistent that he can do. 44, we got Ryan Rollins out of Toledo. Great guard. And of course, he ends up with the Warriors. He's got a great mid-range. And if he can extend that, have increase to Steph range, this kid could be dangerous. 45th, we have Josh Minott out of Memphis. And he's going to the Hornets. I think it's a bold pick here. A little bit of a stretch, a chance pick here. But if it works out for him, it's going to be a great mid-value pick here. 46, we have Ismail Kamagate from Paris basketball. Giving it a B minus, just because, you don't really know too much about this guy, but he's 6'11", interesting tools, a piece that Dame may like in the near future here. And he's raw and unfinished. He's young still, but you got to give him time, and he could be a very good piece. 47th, you have Vince Williams Jr. I think this is a reach as well, but they're taking a risk too. He improved every year at VCU, got better, and it really shows his development is very good. So the Grizzlies must see something here that we don't. 48th, we have Kendall Brown out of Baylor. Forward, B+. I think he was a top 30 prospect as well, who fell to, the late stages of the draft. But he brings great length and a major upside to this Pacer team. 49th, we have Isaiah Mobley, the older brother of Evan Mobley, and he reunites with him as well, playing on the same team, the Cavs. This guy's a good floor spacer who can shoot, a good playmaker as well, and I think he's going to contribute off the bench really well. Matteo Spagnoli, I'm not really liking this pick here for the Timberwolves, but, hey, they got him here at 50. He's a good size and combo guard, but we're just going to have to wait and see for this one. 51st, we have Tyrese Martin going to the Warriors. He had a big year at UConn, which boosted his NBA draft stock. 3-pointers, he's had a dramatic improvement already. Now we get to see him work with Steph and Clay, which will only boost it as well. He's a 4-year player that could go right in, kind of ready for that experience. 52nd, we have Carlo Matsovic from Mega Mozart. B for the Pelicans. He's a great size and athleticism. And if he, can increase the shot blocking and rim running, he could really latch on here. 53rd, we have J.D. Davison out of Alabama. He's a low-risk, high-reward player. He struggled last year in college, which made him fall this low. But he could be a late-round steal if they, develop him correctly. 54th, we have Yannick Nosa out of Unicad Malaga. He's the second youngest player in the class. This is definitely going to be a, stash for sure. He's got great length and leaping ability. He could be a lob threat and shot blocker, kind of like a Marvin Bagley type build here. I could see, this really working out for the Wizards in a few years. You have Gui Santos out of Minas going to the Warriors at pick 55. Versatile, another stash, good on or off ball, and I think he can develop into a good slasher. 56, you have Luke Travers out of Peru. I'm not really liking this. I'm going to see here. It's kind of whatever they took him, but he just needs to improve his shot essentially. But, his size and loving to crash the glass makes up for that, inconsistent shot. 57th, we have Jabari Walker out of Colorado. And heading into this, last year's college season, he was a first round talent, but he had a bad year, kind of fell, still ends up getting drafted here. The elite catch and shoot threat who could be a very good 3-and-D player in the NBA with his 6'8" frame. I think this could be a very good project for the Blazers in the near future. And the last pick of the draft, we have Hugo Besson out of the New Zealand Breakers as well. 21-year-old, 6'6" shooting threat from anywhere on the court, and he's a very good catch and shoot player as well. And I think if he can improve his playmaking and works on his shot, he can be an interesting prospect to watch and perform, especially going to the Bucks. They're really good at developing these foreign players. So we've seen Giannis transform into what he became. That's the Grizzlies motto right there. But that's going to wrap it up for the video today. Make sure you guys hit that like button, comment below what you guys think of the grades. Let me know if you guys have a better grade or a lower grade. And once again, subscribe to the channel, get us to 500 subscribers for that huge giveaway. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.